Education is the second, and I didn't want to talk about the third, but my good friends up here, the third one is leadership. If we don't have a leadership that's A, inclusive, and B, what you're talking about, Tal, is right, if we don't all agree on a direction where we're going to go, if we don't have leaders who can take that vision and move it forward, we're in big trouble. You and I may disagree on the degree of this as a problem, but it's a serious, serious problem in this community. If we don't have strong leaders who can understand that there is a Pinecrest and a Liberty City and a lot of other things, and put them all together and somehow have people working together by agreement, then we're going to be in not the optimal situation. I think we'll do well anyhow. I'm very much an optimist. I think we'll do well anyhow. If we take care of those three things, we'll do a lot better.
Yeah, Sean, you mentioned Governor Perry. Yeah, it was the Department. It was the Department of Energy that he forgot to say he wanted to get rid of. Let's hope he never remembers that. And that deals with our future as well. We talk about public transportation. We talk about all the things that we need in infrastructure. Energy is the core of all of that discussion. And South Florida can play an enormous role. We right now are supplying the winter fruits and vegetables for America because we have a huge agricultural base in South Dade. We think of Dade County as an urban area, and certainly it is, and we're Manhattanizing the downtown area, which I think is proper and right in the way it's been doing with a vision that some leaders have applied to it. Many leaders were one that I thought had a great vision for the future and implemented it. Hopefully someday that is going to be a reality and everyone will see that how they change the zoning overarching policy downtown will have an effect downtown. But back to energy, as the sea levels rise, there's nothing we really can do to stop some of that. Some of that salt water will start infiltrating into our ground and eventually threaten our aquifers, which is the basis for our whole urbanization. If we don't have a source of water, forget about mosquito control and the rest of it, air conditioning. Water is the basic element of life. So if we start seeing our aquifers become saturated, that's going to have a very damaging effect on everything, including tourism. So one of the things this group has recommended that I've been working with over the last 3 years is that we start looking at designing, eventually siting and constructing desalination plants that will be able to be there in time to keep our water flow and our potable water coming. There were some 51 recommendations that came from that task force that have now been incorporated in a document called Greenprint, which is the county's overall sustainability plan, a topic for another discussion here some other day. I just want to say one thing about my dear friend, who I love dearly too, Tal, and I have wonderful memories on and off the golf course. You have been a dramatic force for cool fashion, as well as for recognizing that we're a community made up of, it is a constellation. We have diversity, and diversity can be our strength. It creates a whole range of activity centers for us that are different, where you can get a different taste of food, a different taste of music, a different taste of culture, from Little Havana to Little Haiti to South Beach to Coconut Grove to all the emerging areas of Mary Brickell and Buena Vista, Woodward, and all these areas that are starting to come out of the design district. That's our future. We're based on our diversity. But to really honor that diversity, we've got to make sure the key word Michael just said is education. We've got to make sure that everybody in this community has access to the kind of education that will be a pathway to the future. And more that we start honoring the differences among us. But having said that, one thing I'd like to see a president or a mayor do, and it would be a tremendous benefit to Dade County, and that would be to outlaw the hyphen. Outlaw the hyphen. Because that's one of the things that separates us. The hyphen. What do we call?
Roosevelt said that.
We're all
Roosevelt.
Miamians. We're all Americans. We're not. Why do we let them use a hyphen to separate us into African Americans, Asian Americans, Italian Americans, Jewish Americans, God knows what else? So
That was Teddy Roosevelt said
the
that.
future, when it was Teddy Roosevelt that did that?
Yes. Teddy
Well,
Roosevelt said that a hyphenated America will never stand together.
Well,
We're Americans first. He said that. He said that back in the turn of the century.
well,
A hyphenated
he's right then and he's
America
right
will
now.
never stand. That's what he said.
So, I guess as we go forward, we have to take pride in everything all of us do.
We're Americans first.
Absolutely. We are American people. We see on the national level,
All of us.
that's becoming even more important on the national level. Groups that are so firmly based in their own moral, political convictions that they won't compromise. And that's the core of America, is compromise. Bringing the best together and coming out with something better, synergy. And that total.
Anyone out there have questions? I have other ones, but somebody, usually we walk around with the mic, but you'd have to come up here.